Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Holly. Today I'm sharing a recipe for inside out chicken pot pie. This is a recipe from Whitney Miller, who was season 1 winner of MasterChef in 2010. This is the only chicken pot pie recipe I will make because it tops all other chicken pot pie recipes I've made before. It's a very flavorful comfort food, and I like that it makes enough to have leftovers, and so it's worth it for me to take the time to make this. But it is an easy recipe, it's just not a very quick recipe. But like I said, it's worth the time to make, and you can prep it ahead of time by chopping the carrots, onions, your celery, garlic, lemon zest, things like that. And I would save the potatoes for the day that you're going to make this. But you will need some heavy whipping cream and chicken stock, and the recipe calls for reduced sodium chicken stock, but this worked fine. And you also need 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter, some lemon pepper seasoning, 3 cups of carrots diced, and you don't want them too small or too big, and also 5 cups of red potatoes diced or cubed, and the same thing, you don't want them too small or too big, some green peas frozen but thawed, and you also need 1 cup of corn, either frozen or fresh, 3 chicken breast, boneless, skinless. You will also need some celery, a half a cup, and a half of an onion. You will need 2 cups of grated Parmesan cheese, 2 cloves of garlic minced, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of pepper, a half a cup of all-purpose flour, 1½ tablespoons of lemon juice, 1 teaspoon of lemon zest, and 1 box of puff pastry sheets. And in the description box below, I will put the ingredients that you need and the directions on how to make this recipe. In an oven-safe dish, you want to put your chicken breast and then pour over each one your lemon juice. Now season both sides of the chicken breast with your tablespoon of lemon pepper seasoning. Cover with foil and bake on 350 for about 45 minutes till it's completely cooked. Then you want to parboil your carrots and potatoes together for about 12 minutes. Bring them to a boil, and then you will take it out and drain this when the potatoes are fork tender. Now in a medium to large pot, melt your butter. Add your celery and your onions, and you want to cook this down until the onions are somewhat translucent. When the onions and celery are soft, then add your garlic. Now add your flour, and this will help to be used as a thickening agent. So you want to just make sure you stir that in really well and just cook it for about a minute or 2. Then add your 2 cups of heavy cream. Now I used the chicken stock and poured into the cup that I had the heavy whipping cream in, and that just helps to loosen the rest of that heavy cream and to add it to the pot. Now whisk this so that way there's no clumps and nothing sticks to the bottom of the pan. Now after you've drained all the water off of the carrots and the potatoes, you will add that to this mixture. Add the corn and then add the bag of frozen peas that you've thawed. Now cook this for about 10 to 15 minutes and stir constantly so that way it doesn't stick. Now add the grated Parmesan cheese after you've cooked this for about 10 to 15 minutes. And I add just a little bit at a time, and I like to just make sure it gets all incorporated and it doesn't get clumpy, so just adding half at a time works great. Add your salt and pepper and just mix it up a little bit to incorporate it together. And I do add a little bit more salt and pepper to this just because I felt like it needed just a little bit more, but it may be fine to your taste. But just taste it as you go, and you may want to add more, you may not. Now once your chicken is completely cooked, you want to shred them into bite-sized pieces. Now add your chicken to the mixture. And I also add just a little bit of the chicken at a time, so that way it's easier to stir and it doesn't all clump up together. Now cook on low heat for 25 to 30 minutes and just stir it constantly so it doesn't stick. After 25 to 30 minutes, add your lemon zest, stir that in well, and then just turn your stove off and let this sit while you make the puff pastry. Now take a muffin pan and then you want to just turn it over and spray it with some nonstick spray. And then I take a paper towel and just rub off the excess. You just want enough just so that way the puff pastry does not stick to it. Unfold the puff pastry and you want to cut this into 4 equal squares. And I just use a pizza cutter to do that, but you can also use a knife, either would work. Now take the squares of puff pastry and then form them around the tins, and you will only probably be able to get 4 on at a time, so that way they don't stick to each other. Then take the tip of a knife and then just put 10 little holes on the bottom. Then I put the muffin tin on a cookie sheet, and I will take just a little bit of oil on a paper towel and just rub it onto the cookie sheet where any of the puff pastry overlaps so it doesn't stick. Bake on 400 for about 13 minutes until they're golden brown. This is another option if you do not want to use the puff pastry. You will use 1 cup of self-rising flour, 1 cup of melted butter, and 1 cup of milk. And you're just going to mix all 3 together. Now mix until you have a smooth consistency, and then put this into a greased square pan. And then you will just bake this until it's golden brown, so anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. This is what it will look like when it's done, and you can just cut squares, or if you want, you can crumble it on top of the pot pie. You can eat it however you want. But this was just a different option if you didn't want to use the puff pastry. But this one is really good. It's very buttery tasting. Now the recipe calls for the puff pastry, so you just put that in your bowl, and then you would just spoon over your chicken pot pie mixture, and this is where the inside out portion of the recipe comes from. And this really is a delicious meal. I hope that you would try this. I know it seems like it's a long process, but it really is a delicious chicken pot pie. and it makes a lot. So I hope that you would enjoy this, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're interested in seeing more videos like it, please click that subscribe button and that notification bell, and that will notify you when I post new videos. I hope everyone has a blessed day, and I thank y'all so much for watching.